What's up guys, so for this video I'm going to be playing Ninja Gaiden Ragebound, more specifically Act 4, Mission 4 called The Secret Lab. Before I do that, I do want to visit Muramasa's store and see what there is I can purchase, and I do think I will purchase one item, and that will be... oh yeah, by the way, these red orbs, they're basically like handicaps, but it increases your rank every time you complete a mission, I believe. I'm not too sure, but I'm not interested in buying anything. But what I will do is I will change the spider weapon from Chakram to, I'm thinking, Kasari Fundo. You know what, yeah, let's equip Kasari Fundo instead. Right, let's get started with the mission. You surrender the energy crystals right now. Please hear me out first. You got 1 minute. We need the energy from the Kuno Tani to protect humanity. You see, following the awakening of Archfiend Razdar, we located a life energy breach coming out of the gate between worlds. The CIA has been tapping into this energy to develop a strike force composed of superhumans. You call that superhuman? They're nothing more than abominations. Ah, so you encountered our discarded specimens? I humbly apologize, but it was a necessary sacrifice to achieve our goal. Nonsense, you're just bringing more demons into this world. Give up the crystals now. I'm sorry, one day you'll thank me. I must leave you now. No, stop! Oh wow, the CIA agent and its few soldiers disappeared without leaving a trace behind. Sweet, checkpoint reached. As for that scarab I was trying to collect earlier, there was no point collecting it, or at least trying to collect it, because I just couldn't find a way to collect that scarab, so I just decided, screw it, I'm going to not bother trying to collect it. checkpoint reached. Awesome. I managed to get this part open before I had to switch back to Kenji. Amazing, another checkpoint reached. This part was definitely very tricky for me to get past, but once I figured it out, it was actually not too bad. But you just have to time all of these jumps and make sure you jump on top of these cryopods or cryo tubes in time before they completely sink downward. So you basically just have to time it right. Hell yeah, checkpoint reached. Amazing, another checkpoint reached. Another checkpoint reached. Awesome. The only way to get that scarab is by basically hanging on the back of this cryo tube, and you have to do that before you go past the scarab. And I got a checkpoint, which is awesome, but I don't really want to get the scarab because there's a good chance you'll fail trying to get the scarab because you'll fall off the cryo tube. Plus there are enemies that will knock you off the cryo tube, so yeah, I'm not gonna bother getting the scarab. Another checkpoint reached. Amazing. You're too late. Where are the energy crystals? He took them, he fled them to the Special Night Transport Express. That's that secret train the CIA claims doesn't exist, right? If you leave right now, you may still be able to catch it. Alright, I know the way. Let's move, Kenji. Hell yeah, another checkpoint reached. Fabulous, another checkpoint reached just before a boss battle. This boss battle is actually very easy. All you need to do is you need to avoid its massive metal balls that it shoots out of its shell, metal shell that is, and avoid its lasers and avoid its ground pound power attacks. I don't know what it's called, but it's basically where it slams his hand and then a little bit of a ground shock attack deploys. So yeah, you definitely need to avoid that by hanging onto the wall, plus avoid its eye laser by hanging onto a wall, and you just need to attack its face. Plus it's not going to move, it's going to stay still the entire time, which makes this boss fight very easy because this boss just stands in one place and does all of its attacks through its eyes, hands, and its metal turtle shell. Let's activate Ultimate Rage Art, and it does a lot of damage. It's always effective for all bosses. I was genuinely so happy I killed this boss in a single try. Hell yeah, mission The Secret Lab at Yokohama is completed, rank B, and I got a new item at the shop. That is amazing. Plus, I got 2 out of 3 crystal skulls, which is awesome. Before I start the next mission, I will stop by at Muramasa's, and the new item is called Piercing Steel, and I'm thinking maybe I could buy this, I don't know. Yeah, you know what, I'll buy it, but I really don't want to switch out Ghost Shell and Blood Frenzy because these 2 talismans are really good. They're more effective than the Piercing Steel talisman, but anyway, let's go ahead and start up Act 4, Mission 5, Super Express to Hell. Amazing, I reached a checkpoint in midair. Wait, this train is heading to Mount Fuji. We must retrieve the crystals before they take them to the Kuno Tani. I'm very glad I got a checkpoint on this section. So now I'm on the back of a train. That's actually very cool. Sweet, another checkpoint reached. Damn it, if I had kept the enemy with the jetpack alive, I would have been able to jump on top of him and collect the scarab, but because I killed the enemy with the jetpack, I can't collect the scarab now. Amazing, reached another checkpoint and I restored more than half of my health, which was much needed. Hell yeah, reached another checkpoint and I go from riding on the back of a train to riding on top of a subway. That is pretty cool. Plus, fighting enemies that are on motorcycles is actually very interesting. Wow, now I'm fighting enemies inside of the subway train. Nice, the checkpoint reached, and let's switch to Komori and see what reward I can collect, or what collectible I can get. It could be a scarab, or a crystal skull, I'm not really sure, but what the heck? It leads nowhere. Where? What the heck? I don't get it. Like, are you supposed to just not try and collect the collectible for this part? I don't understand. There's literally no path. But, you know, I chose to not bother trying because, you know, there is no path and I didn't know where to go, so I just said, screw it, I'm not gonna bother switching to Komori to collect whatever collectible there is for me to collect when I switch to Komori, because I don't know what path to take to collect whatever reward there is. Cool, I collected one scarab at least, and I reached another checkpoint. Wow, now I have to hang on the bottom of a helicopter. That is pretty strange indeed, but it's a very unique way to make sure you don't fall behind to get to where you need to go to. However, there will be enemies that will try to hit you and make you fall off the helicopter, so what you need to do is you need to use your melee weapon and throw projectiles at the enemies that fly or try and ride and hit you. Then you end up falling off, which I got very lucky more than once. I almost fell off due to being hit by the enemies without using my weapons to kill them. And I collected a second crystal skull, which is very nice. Collected a checkpoint. Now I don't have to worry about falling off the bottom of the helicopter and landing on the train tracks. Plus, if that was to happen, then I would have to restart from checkpoint, which would really suck. Luckily that did not happen whatsoever, although that was very close to happening, but I was able to jump on top of the enemies to grapple back on the bottom of the helicopter to avoid falling and restarting from checkpoint. Brilliant, another checkpoint reached before the boss fight. What now, is all this really sanctioned by the CIA? I doubt it. I bet our CIA friend has been acting on his own for a while. Whatever, let's dismantle his toys. It took me a long time for this boss to be defeated. It took me more than half an hour. And when I did kill this boss, it was such a huge relief, but holy shit. This boss is very tough to defeat. Let's activate Kumori's Rager, and it does a decent amount of damage, but it's definitely good enough to at least give me a little bit of a leg up in terms of trying to kill this boss. Finally, after multiple deaths, I finally killed this boss. Awesome, that's mission Super Express to Hell, Tokaido, completed, got 2 crystal skulls, a scarab, and rank B. Amazing. That is the end of this video. Thank you all so much for watching. Leave a like on the video if you have enjoyed, subscribe if you are new, and in the next video I will be playing the mission Into the Shadows, Act 4, Mission 6, and the next one after that. So see you guys in the next one, take care.